Let's move on to Hunter Biden. I want to start by reading from the Daily Beast here. We can put the tear sheet up on the screen because I actually think, to the point we mentioned as we were opening the show, this framing is really amusing. So the Daily Beast writes, the quote, missing witness, long touted by Republicans in Congress as the missing link to their probe into alleged Biden family corruption, was accused Monday of being an unregistered foreign agent for China and international arms trafficker while violating U.S. sanctions on Iran and lying to investigators, among a laundry list of other federal charges. This is about Gal Luft. It's a name you may have heard, who, and this is a continuation of the Daily Beast article, quote, had already skipped out on his bail while in Cyprus awaiting extradition to the U.S. for a separate case in March, though he alleges that the sprawling case against him represents political persecution and retaliation by the Biden administration against a potential witness. So these charges against Luft, he's accused of this 2016 plan to, quote, recruit and pay a White House advisor to support pro-China stuff without registering under FARA. I mean, this is just like extremely convoluted. There's a million different countries that are in the mix: UAE, Kenya, Libya, China. He's in Cyprus right now. But I do think the tone of the Daily Beast article that is sort of smug, as though this is a real L for Republicans, when in fact, actually, what we're learning more and more, like this guy, Gal Luft, was working with the former CIA director, James Woolsey. He was basically the head of Woolsey's think tank after he left the CIA. This is not some crazy person. I mean, he may be crazy, but he's not like some fringe internet weirdo. Right. He was working for the former CIA director and is now making these claims.
Or the other way around. It seems like the former CIA director was working for him.
What that was that's an allegation of the plan. So federal prosecutors, I'm reading from the Washington Free Beacon now, they say that CEFC, China Energy, so this is a Hunter Biden connection. Hunter Biden was working with CEFC. They funded a scheme to, quote, recruit former CIA Director James Woolsey. This is where Luft comes in. He was the co-director of Woolsey's think tank. And again, when you put all of that in perspective, not such an L for Republicans yet, because to the point you were making earlier in the show, it's really not tanking the credibility of Luft that he's being alleged to be compromised by foreign interests.
And the irony here is that what we're talking about is basically, I think, that something that everybody stipulates across the board, which is that Hunter Biden absolutely traded on his name in order to cash in with foreign governments. There still remains questions about whether or not Joe Biden knew anything about it, met with anybody, did anything that was furthering of this kind of business enterprise that was going on. And this is 2017, so this is when Biden is out of office. But CEFC is the company where the big guy quote comes from, like 10% for the big guy that everybody loves. And so the fact that Luft was involved with CEFC puts him at the center of all of this.
Exactly.
Rather than kind of undermining his credibility. The irony that Hunter defenders would say, well, this guy's now discredited because he's been indicted as a Chinese spy for working with CFC. They miss the fact that, well, okay, Hunter Biden was also working with CEFC.
Yeah.
As part of its influence operation.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't Hunter Biden be indicted for failing to register? Because this is paperwork stuff, but this is paperwork that matters. Like if you're representing a foreign government when you're writing in the Washington Post, or you're sending out emails to reporters, or you're hosting events, we want to know. Now, these think tanks come in, and this could become interesting if it ever went to trial. It sounds like this guy's going to have to be brought in by Jack Ryan or something out there. So there may never be a trial, but funding think tanks to get around FARA is foreign influence 101, which is, and then there's a constant push and pull around disclosure versus opacity there, where with the think tanks constantly kind of muddying things and trying to not, just say when they testify, whether or not their think tank gets any funding, and on and on. So to me, the fact that this guy is indicted for being involved with CEFC, the company at the center of this, actually makes me a lot more interested in what he has to say. Final point, he says in a statement that he released that he voluntarily reached out to the FBI in 2019 to warn the FBI that there was this influence operation that involved a presidential candidate, Joe Biden. And he says that after that, that's when they started coming after him. The FBI says that he made false statements at the time, said he was not involved in arms trafficking, et cetera, which I believe. I'm ready to believe that. Okay. You're sitting down with FBI agents in a cafe in Brussels, and they ask if you're an arms trafficker, and you actually are, and you're also a spy, and in this nefarious world of brokering all of these different arms deals, chance that he lied about that? High.
So here's where.
Does that mean that he's not an interesting source on this? No.
No, I mean, he's a hugely interesting source because, as you say, this really puts him at the center of all of this. Prosecutors are also saying that, so Patrick Ho, that's a name that some people may have heard. He's, infamously, when he was arrested by the FBI, his first call was to James Biden. James Biden tells the New York Times he thought that it seemed that Ho was trying to contact Hunter because Hunter agreed to represent Ho, actually signed an agreement with him.
And who's this guy? Patrick Hall.
Ho is involved with CEFC.
I'm halfway down the rabbit hole, but I'm not all the way there.
Well, and that's the thing is it's not even a rabbit hole in that this is all conspiratorial. It's just so convoluted and intentionally.
So that's how this stuff works.
Yeah. These lobbying agreements and legal agreements are intentionally super convoluted. But Ho also asked Gal Luft to recruit Woolsey so that Woolsey would write, according to prosecutors, articles for Chinese state media promoting Belt and Road. And that's
Which
where...
he did, right?
Yeah, CEFC ended up paying Woolsey $6,000 a month, according to the indictment. So Woolsey, Luft, and the Bidens are looking really bad in all of this. And the more we learn about Gal Luft, the more we're going to learn about both the Woolsey influence here and the Biden influence here. And none of it is good. But you can see, I think, sadly, the media taking the bait from the White House and just being super smug about Luft getting stuck in Cyprus. And I don't know whether his allegations that he's under, he's being blocked for political reasons, that he's being kept overseas for political reasons. I don't know if those are true. They sound, at this point, plausible given the extent of what he knows. But maybe he actually did genuinely engage in wrongdoing, and they're suddenly super eager to crack down on everyone involved in FARA, violations, et cetera, et cetera.
The way that he could have gotten caught doing this with absent a kind of I'm a whistleblower being persecuted claim would be that the China desk over at the CIA all of a sudden starts seeing Woolsey writing op-eds about Belt and Road. It's what on earth is going on here? Anybody who sees that happening knows that Woolsey is not sitting at home in retirement just pondering the beauty of the Belt and Road Initiative, and it's what friends do I have over in China that would run my freelance pieces celebrating this stuff? So as soon as you see that in print, you're okay, this is an operation. Who's paying for it?
$6,000 a month.
Right, and so which is also peanuts.
Yeah, although they're just slapping his byline.
In this elite world.
That's true.
Right.
That's actually a good point. Woolsey, come on, man. You're worth
$6,000.
more. Lean in.
$6,000. And so, the CIA is always looking to roll up these foreign intelligence operations. So they see that, then they're okay, let's figure out who's Woolsey working for. It's oh, it's this think tank. Who runs this think tank? Oh, it's this guy. Who's this guy in communication with? And so I think you could get yourself busted that way.
Yeah.
Absent everything else, but it doesn't. But like I said, it doesn't actually bear on whether or not there's some credibility around the Hunter allegations, other than maybe actually making them more credible.
I was going to say it actually
it does bear on it. Yes. But
Well-
bears on it in that direction. Yeah.
Hey, if you liked that video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to Breaking Points.
If you want to see the rest of Counterpoints, go to breakingpoints.com to become a premium member and get the full uncut show every morning in your inbox and on Spotify.
Help us build independent news and get the full show every morning at breakingpoints.com.